a bit of a grind.
No worries.
Yeah, no worries at all.
Well, thanks for making time to chat with your fans. In Ottawa, we here at CHEZ 106, we exclusively play the hip 24/7.
You always have. You guys always have played the hip. We know that.
From the early days.
Yep.
Well, let's revisit the early days because it's kind of a big deal. Congratulations on 30 years of Road Apples. I have to ask you, first of all, though, this new music video with Emily Hampshire, how is working with her for Not Necessary?
Well, we didn't. We're very honored that she did this video, but Sarah Basso did our most recent video, Ouch, in the spring with Jay Baruchel, and then she somehow got Emily to agree to do the video. So as far as I know, none of us were there, and they managed to make a great video. Really, we all really like Sarah's sensibilities and directing, and Emily did a great job.
Well, that's complete trust to kind of hand over the keys to that. So I guess you can't tell me whose amazing Norton motorcycle started off that video either, eh?
No, our guy Billy Ray has been our stage manager, go-to guy for many things for many years. Used to have a Norton, and I did notice the Norton, and I wondered the same thing.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I'm a little obsessed with motorcycles. But okay, so back to the task at hand. Question about Road Apples, but about really all of your albums. When something comes together like this and it's so big and it's a big celebration, whenever you're unboxing them or opening them or working with the companies who produce the packaging, does it feel like a time capsule?
This one, absolutely. And, Robbie, who's the artistic director in the band, he was obviously very involved in this. So it was a ton of work for him, but he was right down to the paper that we used. I think it took us about a year to sort of, to meet and talk about what was going to happen, where it was going to sit, what it was going to look like. And so, yeah, there were a lot of details that were tabled about this box set. But I just looked at it physically last night for the very first time. I had a copy sent to, I don't know about you, Paul. Did you get it yesterday?
Got it yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're looking at it for the first time, not on a Zoom call, and it's really cool. It is exactly like you say. It is a time capsule of where we came from.
So since it's so fresh, like physically, tangibly in your hands, what for both of you, you can use one word to describe it. But what was the first thing that you thought of when you saw the cover art and also when you pressed play? First thing
for me, I was excited to get to the booklet. For lack of a better word, booklet sounds like it's really small, but the booklet, the big booklet, and just to look at all the pictures. Really, I just wanted to see all the pictures like on paper. As Johnny said, it's been Zoom calls, and people are showing us, and it's kind of like, oh, yeah, it looks really good. But and I love the package. The silver really works, and so I was just thinking, wow, aren't I lucky? I get to look at pictures of me and my friends from way back.
And
I was waiting for you.
Sorry. For me, it was, we were talking as we were doing this, putting it together over all this time about the people that are not with us. So I just, Don Smith, Bruce Barris, Dave Powell, our road manager, who was the only one that was allowed in the studio as a friend, and because he drove our gear down to New Orleans from Kingston, and of course Gord, and we get asked a lot of questions about what Gord would have thought about this, and we all have the same answer. Gord really, he would have spent maybe 5 minutes and he would have dug it, and then he would have been like, let's do a triple rec. He would have been on to something brand new. So for us to be able to look back, I think it is nice because it gives us a little, it's part of the healing process. So I was just conscious of those things when I was looking at it for the first time, and I'm wishing the people that were missing could lay eyes on it and hear what they had to say.
So how does it feel to include, or to like even be asked to include, you know, just such personal mementos in this reissue that's going to be consumed all over the world by so many people? You know, how does it feel to be asked to give a piece of yourself in that way? Some things that may have been considered previously private, even with this album or beyond. Like how does that question even come up? Like, hey, can we have some of your personal notes or personal thoughts? Does it ever feel uncomfortable?
That's a very good question. It probably would have, yeah, when we were younger. And it would have, you know, if Gord was still here, this wouldn't be happening. You know, we'd have done at least 2 more records since our last record, Man Machine Poem. And we wouldn't be looking back. We wouldn't be looking for tapes. That would be for way down the road. But I think as everyone gets older, you get a little, I don't know, it depends on what your history is, but our history is honestly, it's great. We're all good friends. We all loved being in New Orleans. So in particular with this, you know, there are private, yes, you're so right. Pictures that were only ours, that were snapshots that maybe Don Smith took, or, you know, anything. And we never felt compelled to share that kind of stuff. But to do it now, it's like, it's something we're proud of. You know, we stuck together, and there was no drama, like in general. And there certainly was no drama recording Road Apples. We were all just only about the music, and only about recording, and only about hanging out together. And so to put some of that, those images and some of that stuff out there, it's something that we're proud of, you know. And so I'd say it's a good feeling. We don't feel funny about it, though we would have years ago, I'm sure.
With the Man Machine Poem tour, whenever that was suggested, it must have been up to Gord, his medical team, etc. But you as a band, like what when that idea came up, were you all gung ho for it, or was it like, whoa?
Can I say, I say just before you go, Johnny, because I want you to go, because I was so interested, because I was living with Gord at the time, helping his brother look after him, because he's going through the radiation and the chemo and everything. And, you know, so I was there, but I was talking to these guys on the phone, and I loved Johnny's perspective. I'm going to say Johnny was gung-ho, but the gung-ho-ness ended there. I was gung-ho. I knew Gord wanted to do it, but you go ahead, Johnny.
No, Paul's right. You know, it's funny because Paul, everyone had a task to do, and he had the monumental task because Gord said, I'm up for doing this. I'm going to have the energy to do it. And he worked and worked and worked, and we all saw it. But Paul had to put a set together that was like for every single night that was different. And Gord gave a list of songs, and it was like, these are the songs we're going to do. And I'm looking at it like, I can do this, but you know, and I knew he was going to be able to do it because when he first started singing, he was in time. He was in cadence. His rhythm, you know, his couplets were together, and you see in the movie, like you see him sort of, he's not struggling. He's got it. This stuff has come back to him. So, you know, it's really funny because I've said to Paul a million times, my favorite show was, I loved our Alberta shows because we really knew he could do it. We knew he was going to get to the end. But then we had this Kingston thing just hanging over our head.
Yeah.
And for me, the Ottawa show was one that I would love to release, you know, because we have it taped. Because for me, we just blew the cobwebs out and it was like, here it is. that was one of my favorite shows, you know. And then we got in the bus and we went to Kingston that night, and it was like, well, the end is near, you know. So I've derailed your question because I
No,
just,
you haven't. No, you haven't at
but
all.
but yeah, we sort of, he worked and worked, and it was when it was first tabled, it was like, yeah, I knew he could do it. I personally knew he could do it. And then, you know, you get people thinking, oh well, what about the insurance? We've got all this. It's like, just go and do it. Can you imagine if it happened in 2019? We wouldn't have been able to do that tour.
No.
Time is everything.
Yeah.
So speaking of shows and tours, etc., and getting back to the early 90s, man, how was that live at the Roxy? Because we're now going to have the chance to grab that and to have a physical copy of that. Can you describe the feeling like backstage, like 5 minutes before curtains? I'm sure a lot of people were telling you, you know, no big deal. It's going to be great. You're going to ace it. But like, how did you feel? How did you feel in that moment?
I think we felt good. We felt confident. So that Roxy show was in the middle of a tour. So we had played whatever, you know, if I had to guess, we would have been in San Francisco the night before. Or maybe Phoenix, would maybe coming that way, or Tucson. So it was just one of whatever, you know, likely 25 shows on that little West Coast swing, or Southern US West Coast. So we would have felt normal. We knew it was a step up. We had played the Whiskey A Go-Go, and you know, we were signed out of America, so we knew that there would be record company people there, which always kind of tweaks you a bit. Sorry, record company people, but it's just a mild tweak that they're going to be watching. And but fortunately, we were playing all the time back then, and we were very, very confident. So we were excited. It's like the Roxy, we all knew about it, heard about it, and so we went out to go get it, you know, and to just do what we knew he could do. So I don't think we would have been nervous. I think we would have been excited.
Is that what you want to share with your fans? Like the feeling to go out there and get it, like to include them in that show, whether they were there or not?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it was like a moment in time. We were probably, you know, we were playing this new record. John Smith was out front in a truck on Sunset, you know, recording it the way that we knew it was going to sound great. And this was kind of a big moment for us there. You know, this was going to be captured and sent out to various points in North America. So it was a big show, but we also had like Paul's saying, we had that confidence of being on the road, playing a record that had a lot of backbone. I mean, we rehearsed Road Apples before we went in to the studio. So we were really, you know, guns a-blazing at that age. We were in our 20s, you know.
I can't even, yeah, that would have been just really so. It's so great that you have all of that stuff on tape too. It's so awesome that it's been preserved and now it's ready to be, you know, delivered once again to fans in a totally new way. But back in the day, the label gave you a bit of grief about the album titles. See, I'm from the Valley, so I'd always read it as Hoof-Hearted because we don't say hoof, we say like hoof.
Yeah.
So when I was watching your videos about the unboxing, and it's Hoof-Hearted. Ah, yes. Okay. Yeah, I see that. But even Saskadelphia too. I like personally, I think that they're great album titles, but not necessarily pleasing to your label at the time. So is releasing them now, you know, together with Road Apples in sort of this grandiose way, it's large scale. Is that kind of serendipitous for you? Is that like an itch you can finally scratch?
I would say exactly right. Well, you're very perceptive. Yeah, I'm not from the Valley, so I say Hoof-Hearted, and it just always kind of just gave us a little, you know, a smile, a little joke kind of thing, and we did try to name a couple of records that to just a straight up. Are you guys insane? And a little bit with Saskadelphia, the same kind of reaction. So yeah, it is an itch that we wanted to scratch, and we have the opportunity. And hey, we're not. This is our choice, and so it was kind of why not? Why wouldn't we? It fits with the imagery of road apples, so it kind of, and Saskadelphia was the one that lost out to, in the end, to road apples as a title. So the timing is right. This is a retroactive a look at road apples, and both those titles were part of that time.
It's funny though, because Gord Sinclair and I did an interview with the States yesterday, and the guy said he was doing this big lead up to it, and he said, well, it's the 30th anniversary of Rotten Apples, and we're just so happy to have you guys here. And then Gord corrected him, and he was like, oh, he got all, but, and we reminded him that, remember when we were in Germany, Paul, we were introduced, some guy came up and said, I love your record, Rotten Apples, it's great. It was like, we explained to the guy, and he still didn't feel that great that he'd screwed it up. He was like, oh, road apple. He was like, yeah, well, no wonder you didn't get it in the States. It was like,
I think people probably just feel a bit nervous chatting with you, like you're Canada's band, and I joke off the top saying, oh, here at CHEZ, where we play 24/7, but like that's close to being a fact. Like that's, I've worked at stations all across the country, and you are like, you are a piece of home. When I was so far away from home for the very first time in my career, and I was on my own, listening to your songs, which I had heard, 1,000 times before, it just transport you home. Like you close your eyes, and I really did. I really felt like home. How does it feel? That people have told you that, but how does it feel to kind of live that legacy and to be a home?
I mean, the way you just said it, honestly, it feels great. You said that that people say that all the time. It's not all the time like anymore, but sometimes you run into someone who's like, your music really helped me, in whatever way, and it's a privilege, but it's never looked at any more than in a particular individual who is saying that. So it's never not appreciated a whole pile. I mean, we feel like that as well. We just got lucky to have the right people playing together and the right friends, and we were able to, and the right Gord Downey, and just everything went right, and so the fact that means stuff to people, because we would hear that from people like in London, or homesick people, and are living in LA, and which would be a tough place to be homesick in. So it's massively appreciated, and I appreciate what you said there.
Absolutely. We also had a very smart manager. We still have Jake Gold, and we used to do this thing where he would tell the record company, remember when you would leave Terminal 3, or you'd leave the airport, and you could buy some magazines, but you could also buy CDs and tapes in those days. And he would always have a hip front rack there. So if somebody was and they take hip tape with them. Oh, I'll just grab this before I get on the 30-hour plane journey, and then would go to Thailand and bore all the people there with the hip tunes. So it was like we were international, because Jake just made sure there were always tapes at the airport.
Well, Johnny and Paul, I guess we have to wrap it up. I'm sorry it took up so much time. I know you're busy, but I really appreciate it. And I know that your fans in Ottawa love you to the moon, where maybe there'll be a little rack, somewhere down the line, where when we do that astro tourism thing, we can grab one of your albums from the lunar surface.
Love it.
Well, thank you, Amy.
Yes, thanks, Amy. Nice talking to you, for sure.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.